I've heard that you only started with the whole rowing thing when you were 27. Is that right?
Yeah, well, almost 29 or something. I started competition rowing in Klaksvik, and I've always been interested in sport, football and volleyball, and also practiced some judo. But when I discovered like rowing, I fell in love with it, and I've been rowing ever since. So yeah.
What made you start?
Well, it was quite funny. I had no interest in rowing at all, but at my work there were a few other guys that were rowing, and one day they asked me if I could come with them for like training, and I said, well, yeah, maybe I can come and just for one day to see what it's like, but I'm not promising you that I will stay on board for a long time. And I remember very well, it was January, very cold, snowy and dark, and I remember after maybe 10 minutes I just felt this is me, and I fell in love with it, completely fell in love with it, and I've been, rowing has been a really big part of my life ever since.
Yeah, you go on these long trips, sometimes they last for months, and you cross oceans, and I think a lot of people can say that this is something really tough and harsh and not a very pleasant experience. What do you find in it? Why do you do it?
Well, yeah, that is a very good question. Why do you do it? Why do you put yourself through all these horrors? It is many things. It is the first thing is that ocean rowing is one of the toughest sports in the world. We sit there for months and we row for 12 hours each day, and when we start, we have 5,000 kilometers or 6,000 or 7,000 kilometers to the finish line, and you need to be very strong. Also, your mind has to be very strong to continue day after day after day, because the finish line is so far away. And then again, it's a big adventure. We see things that nobody else will see, in a small boat in the middle of the ocean. So it's an adventure, it's a big sport, and and you test yourself, and not everybody can do it. So there are many things, many factors why I do this.
When I've seen the size of the boat that you crossed an ocean in, I was shocked at how small it was. Do you ever get terrified when you're in the middle of an ocean, there's nothing around you, and you're on this small boat?
Yeah. People often think that I do not get scared, but I do get scared. Really scared sometimes when you're in a storm. And I always tell people, if you don't get scared, then there is no point of going. I mean, if you're not scared sometimes, then there's something wrong with you. And maybe you're a psychopath or something. So you need to have good moments, you need to have bad moments. Everything is like you fall in love and you have sorrow. Everything is connected. So when there's a storm, the storm will pass, and next day or 2 days later the weather will be good and you can enjoy it. So it is, I do get scared, and it's a part of it.
Do you have any memorable experiences when it comes to like storms and extreme situations?
Yeah, I do. Many. One of the worst things that I have experienced is in the North Atlantic with a small boat that was only 23 feet long. There were 4 people on board, and it was the storm was really blowing, and we were rowing downwind, and the waves must have been like 10 meters high, and then suddenly a really big wave came, and we just capsized. I was thrown overboard, and we had safety lines on us that was about 10 meters long, and also life jackets. So the line was attached to the boat, and I was thrown overboard. The boat capsized, and that was quite scary also. And I was for a while underwater, couldn't get up right away. I had a life jacket on that was supposed to, have this think that it blows up by itself, but it didn't. And there's a string to pull, and I couldn't find the string. So yeah, it was a bit scary. But before we go on a journey like that, we know that we can hit really bad weather. We know we can capsize. We know we can go overboard. It's scary when it happens, but you know that these are some factors that it can happen. So when it happens, you're not surprised. I mean, but it's scary. It is.
You're describing these horrific memories, and I just wondered, you live on these journeys for months. What does your family think about it? Are they worried for you?
No, they're not worried. Ocean rowing is quite safe if you know what you're doing. If you have your safety line on, if you prepare the boat very well, it is quite safe. And I've told my wife and my children many times, how do we do it? How do we prepare the boat, and what do we do in a storm and stuff like that? So they know exactly what is happening on board. If you don't know what you're doing, ocean rowing will kill you. There's no doubt about it. You need to know what you're doing. And sadly, we have had a few accidents where people didn't make it. Not many, but there have been a few accidents where people died. And maybe it was bad, didn't prepare well enough, or just bad luck. I don't know. But yeah, you need to be prepared very well.
You said people even died. Was that in your team?
Not in my team, no. But in the past, we have had a few accidents involving ocean rowing. Just a few years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, a guy was swept overboard in the middle of the night, and they never found him again. So if the safety line was okay there, he wouldn't. He would still be here. So it's being prepared all the time. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You go on these journeys with usually a couple of other men. How do you form a crew? Are they your friends, or?
No, not all the time. The first time when I got involved in ocean rowing, I didn't know anybody. So I just wrote today we are really good friends. A guy called Livar in Scotland. I wrote him an email and told him that I would love to row across the Atlantic Ocean, and asked him if it was possible to be on his team. And so I went down to Scotland to see him, and then he told me that, well, in order to get on the team, you have to go through some training selections. It's quite tough, and we were about 40 people that were there, and there were only 14 that got through. Luckily I made it, and ever since then, I've been a part of his team, so that's really good. And I've also been with other teams and got some really good friends. And also, sadly, I have met people that I will never speak to again. So it's, both ways. Yeah.
When you're crossing an ocean with these people, you're in a small space together. How do you spend your time there?
Well, usually when you are off the oars, when you are resting, it's just about trying to rest and try to sleep as much as you can. There is not much social life, So when you get off the deck in the cabin, you just try to sleep and just lie still and rest. That's the most part of it.
I've heard that a couple of times you, especially at the beginning when you just started, there were a couple of journeys when you didn't make it. When you even saw the land, but because of the weather conditions you couldn't make it. What made you go over these things and continue?
Yeah, the first time I tried to row was from the Faroe Islands to Shetland, and the first time it was only 24 hours, then we had to turn back. It was a really big disappointment. The second time, 2 years later, this was in 2005, we were only 4 guys on a boat. And this was a traditional Faroese boat, like an open boat, no cabins. And we were rowing for 6 days, and then we could see land, and then we had to stop because of bad weather. And the Coast Guard came out and said, you guys have to stop now. And it was a really big disappointment. And I remember right there when we had to stop that it's unbelievable how bad luck this is. We can see land and we have to stop, and I was so disappointed. And you know, I thought that this was a big failure, the whole thing. But then after 1 or 2 weeks at home thinking about the trip, I didn't see it as a failure. I saw it as a success, because I had learned so many things about myself, and I knew that, you know, when the weather is bad, there's nothing you can do about it, but there are many other things you can do. You know, how is your mental state, and are you strong, physically strong enough to do this, and can you you know, even though you're in pain all the time, can you still row and stuff like that? And I could, and I loved that. I really enjoyed it. So I found out a few things about myself. So you know, and that's why I started looking at the Atlantic Ocean. And the first time I tried to cross the Atlantic Ocean, I had to be rescued also. And after 1,000 miles from the Canary Islands, we lost our rudder. I think we hit something in the water and we couldn't steer the boat, and we had to be rescued by a Russian cargo ship. So the first 3 times that I tried to do something with ocean rowing, I never made it. But I kept on going and going, and because I loved it. And then the 4th time, you know, I managed to row from New York to England, and ever since then it's been a success. Yeah, but it was a tough start.
I just wonder, when you do these trips, what's the mindset? Is it more, what part of it is more satisfying? Is it the process or is it the result? So do you more enjoy the process of rowing and doing this thing, or is it just that you struggle all the way through, but then when you're done, you're like, yes, I've done it?
Yeah, no, it's in the process. Sometimes when I'm finished rowing, I feel quite sad because now it's finished. So I really enjoy the time out there on the ocean. One of the toughest things with ocean rowing is to get to the start line, because it costs a lot of money. You need to have big sponsors, and for the next time I will build a boat. And so just to get to the start line is a real struggle. So when I get to the start line, I can start enjoying the trip by just rowing and just enjoying myself out there on the ocean. And that's the big part of it, to, you know, to enjoy the time out there on the ocean. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
What does ocean mean to you? Is it your rival? Is it your passion? Or is it...
That's very difficult to answer. Well, it's just, I feel at home on the ocean. I left school very early, and I was about 15 years old, and I became a fisherman, and I was working on the ocean for at least 20 years until I got children, and then I started finding work at home. But it is like my second home, the ocean, and I feel so good out there. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Have you heard of a Russian sailor, Fyodor Konyuhov? He just completed his trip in the south.
Yes.
Heard about him?
Yeah. With a big beard?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've been following him.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's interesting because you, except for rowing, you also paint.
Yeah.
And
he's also an artist.
He's also a painter.
Yeah.
And I just wondered, do you think that's a coincidence or not? Do you gain inspiration from the ocean?
Well, it's quite funny, you know, we have another Faroese guy called Trondur Pettersson. He is a great artist, one of the best artists in the Faroe Islands. And when he was younger, he did a lot of expeditions, you know, across the Pacific in a raft. And they were sailing in you know, different types of boats and stuff like that. He is a great artist, and he's always been inspired by the ocean. You can see it in his paintings, and he's also working with glass. But I don't think you can see it in my paintings. You know, you can see a lot of boats and the ocean, but I've always done that. Also before I started doing this with you know, rowing stuff. So, but it's not something that I think about, but maybe it is in the back of my head. Just, yeah.
I've read one of your interviews where you say that with rowing you're not planning to stop. And your goal is to be the oldest rower. At the moment, I think this record belongs to Fyodor Konyev.
Yes.
When are you planning to retire? Are you planning to continue till this age?
Yeah, well, right now, it's very easy when you're only 48 years old and you feel good. Right now, I think I could row for, at least 25 more years. But I could get injured or something else would happen. But I enjoy it, and I will. When I don't enjoy it anymore, I will stop. Yeah, because I don't see the point of going if you're not enjoying the trip. So, but hopefully I will become the oldest ocean rower in the world.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you because Fyodor Konyev, he does his voyages alone, solo. Have you ever done solo voyages, and would you plan to do anything like that?
Yeah, I haven't done any solo rows yet, but I am planning to row across the Atlantic Ocean alone. And there is a guy from the Faroe Islands that is living in Denmark. He's a boat builder, and in this August he will start building my boat. So yeah, the plan was to leave next January, but I don't think we will be ready for January. So I have to do it, in 2021, January 2021. So when you row across the Atlantic Ocean, you have to start around December or January because of the hurricane season in Caribbean. So I couldn't start, for example, in June or July. So it has to be in the winter. So yeah. So if you can't row in January, then I have to postpone it for a whole year. But so that's the plan, yeah.
I would imagine rowing alone is like much harder than rowing in a team because you're just on your own.
Yeah, the challenge. Yeah, the challenge will be that you're completely alone, that you can't talk to anybody for maybe 3 or 4 months. So that is, everything that is coming with being an ocean rower. With you struggle every day. You come into storms and stuff like that. I know how to handle that, but it's been alone for so long. I haven't tried that, so I'm excited, also concerned. How will I react after 2 months, totally isolated from the world? So yeah, start talking to myself.
Well, I wish you luck.
Yeah, thank you.
Trips.
Thank you.
We've seen your world records over there. What do they mean to you?
Not very much. There is one record there that means something. But I was the first, or we were the first people to row with 3 people across the Indian Ocean, and it's just a stupid record in my opinion, really, because at some point somebody's going to do it, and why do we get a certificate for that? Then there is the Indian Ocean. We were also the fastest team across the Indian Ocean, and it's a record, that's fine. And also across the North Atlantic. We rode the longest distance also in 24 hours. But there is a record there that I really like, and that is that I am the first person in the world that has rowed across 2 oceans within the same year. And that is a record that nobody can take away from me. So, it's going to stand in 100 years also.
What does happiness mean to you?
Sorry?
What does happiness mean to you?
Happiness is everything. Being happy is also to get to do what you want to do. If I'm happy when I row across an ocean or prepare this thing, and I am so fortunate that I have a wife that is willing to let me do this, and she knows also what it means to be happy, because she says that she can't say no, because then I would be sad, and I will sit here thinking about the ocean instead of I'm on the ocean thinking about her. So yeah, it's being happy is to do what you want to do, and yeah, and don't let anybody stop you.
You do these trips, the rowing trips, but do you have like practice for them? Do you train?
Yeah, we no, well, you know, I have to train to get myself in shape. But the first time when I was rowing across the Atlantic, we had to have this selection group in Scotland to get the best people, because there were so many people that wanted to come on this row. So they had to have some, you know, in order to get the best people, we had to go through this selection thing, and it was really hard. It was former SAS soldiers that were organizing this thing, so it was torture for 5 days, and they were really hard with us. Yeah. But then again, we did this, and it was quite interesting. We had some people were really strong, you know, the fastest in the mountains and strong. I wasn't very strong. I was just in the middle of the whole thing, barely managed through it sometimes. And but when I was on the ocean, I was by far one of the strongest guys up here. I remember very well, we had people, you know, strong guys crying. They were scared because of waves and stuff like that. So it's very difficult to choose people, because you don't know how they will react when they are 1,000 miles from land in a storm. You can't train for that. Mm-hmm. It's impossible to train for that. But you try to take the best people that you know, this guy could be good and that guy could be good, but you never know until you're in a storm.
Would you say that the aspect up here is more important than the physical?
Yeah, I would say the mental state of it is like 70 or 80% of it. Because you could be one of the strongest people in the world, but if your mind is weak, then the rest is gone. Yeah. You can only last for 3 or 4 days out there by raw strength, and then you know, you have to have the mind with you. You can just start imagining that you will start running today, and you will run for 12 hours each day, and the goal or the finish line is 7,000 kilometers away. You have to have a very strong mind to do that, in you know, because a lot of people just give up.
Is it Northern Lights in the picture?
It's a combination of many things. It's also my head is it's, yeah. I'm just also I'm trying to play with colors sometimes. Yeah. Make something different.
And who inspired you? I mean, some painters.
Well, I have a lot of favorite artists, you know, also in the Faroe Islands, but also international artists, yeah. But I don't think there is, for example, an old artist, you know, died several hundreds of years, is Rembrandt. I love him, really love him. Yeah, he's one of my favorites. Since I was, I think, 10 years old, I saw his first picture. I fell in love with him. Yeah, so.
I think Dario really loved that painting of the puffin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The puffins are, you can almost touch them.
Yeah.
They're, yeah. I've been there also. They're very cute. Yeah. They look so funny. Oh.
How many islands have you visited out of the 18?
I haven't been on Luxor, which is, there is nothing there, and I haven't been in Coster, which is also, there's like just a farmhouse there. They rebuilt the whole thing, and you can go and see it. It's really old school. All the houses are very old and stuff like that, but they done this a few years ago. And I think you can stay there now for a night or something. It should be, it would be very interesting for you to go there, or you guys, if you have time for it.
How's it called again?
Coster.
Great.
Coster. It is yeah, maybe I should show you on the telephone. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's true. I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
Like obviously in the last couple of years, Faroe Islands is becoming very popular in the world. You know, tourists is just booming here.
Yeah.
What do you think about it? Is that a good thing?
For some people it's good. For some people it's not good. I don't mind it. I think it's fine that we have a lot of tourists in the Faroe Islands because it's good for the economy. But I don't want too many of them. I mean, the islands are very small. It's very easy to, you know, to get too many of them here. So there's no privacy anymore. That wouldn't be good.
Well, we've seen what happened to Iceland.
Yeah.
You know, like 10 years ago, it
Yeah.
was this wild and beautiful place. And
Yeah.
it's all just
It's
covered
the
in-
same thing with the Faroe Islands. 10 years ago, you know, not many people knew about the Faroe Islands. Today, people are, you know, it's just going crazy with the tourists. And I hope maybe they should do something extreme to stop. You know, it's going to be very expensive to come here. You have to come by sailboat or something cheaper.
Yourself,
Yeah. Yeah.
I've actually, I told some of my friends that I'm going to Faroe Islands, a lot of them didn't know where this
No.
place is.
Yeah.
If you were to tell people about Faroe Islands, what would you say? Why is this place so unique?
Because they don't know about it. Yeah. I was in America in 2010 when we were rowing, and I talked to a lot of people. You know, every day people came down to the harbor looking at the boat and asking. We were there for a whole month, and they asked us what we were doing and asked me, "Where do you come from?" I said, "Faroe Islands." I never heard of it. Nobody had heard of it, and that's why it's so special. You know, that was in 2010, and imagine we discovered a whole new country. It's so it is something special, even though we're very small. But it's a new thing for a lot of people. So that's in one way it's unique. So yeah.
There are quite a few things here that people find quite harsh and extreme. For example, the climate. It's always cold, a lot of the time it's cloudy. And yet, from our experience and from what we heard, everybody here is really nice, really welcoming and really friendly. Where do you think this happiness comes from?
Maybe it's this small community up in the North Atlantic. You know, we're right at the doorstep to the Arctic Circle, and I'm just imagine being here in the Faroe Islands 200 years ago. It must have been really hard. You know, you didn't have electricity, and also the houses were small, just made out of stone and a little bit of wood. Must have been really hard living here, and they were always relying on friends and neighbors to help, and that has been with all the time in the Faroe Islands. You always have to rely on people around you, and you have to be friendly. Because if you're not friendly to the neighbor, he's not going to help you the next time when you need help. And it has been like that since the beginning of the Faroe Islands, when people came here. And now it is in our DNA. It's in our genes to be friendly. Yeah.
You've lived here your whole life, right?
Yeah.
Have you considered ever moving to Europe or to a different place?
No, I haven't, but I could live anywhere. I think I could live anywhere in the world, but I will always come back to this place. And this is my home, and I love it here. I was born here, right 200 meters in my mother's house. I was born there. I've lived here my whole life, and for me, this is the center of the universe. But I could live anywhere. So yeah.
What's your favorite place in Faroe Islands?
This place. No, we have a lot of beautiful places in the Faroe Islands, and Hvannasund is really beautiful, but we have other places that are Gásadalur. When you see that big waterfall, it's a very popular place, but it's just like on photos it looks great. Kyrkjebø is a nice place, and yeah, we have a lot of good places in the Faroe Islands, beautiful places. And then on this island, Enneberg is one of the highest cliffs in the world, and if you go by boat and look up to this big cliff, yeah, it's gonna make your jaw drop. It is really big.
What's one thing you love the most about Faroe Islands?
It is, there are so many things. As we said, you know, the friendly people. You mentioned this with the weather, that we have a cold climate. We have, the winters are dark and cold. But then again, if you look at the Faroe Islands and compare it to other countries, we don't have earthquakes here. We do have storms, but not like in Caribbean where it blows, you know, almost destroy whole communities. We don't have war. We don't have poverty. Yeah. So there are many things with the Faroe Islands that are good. Yeah. And we don't have a lot of crime as we have in other countries. This is actually one of the countries in the world that has lowest crime, so that's good.
I had this question. I asked people how
Yeah.
they describe Faroe Islands in 3 words.
Yeah.
I know it's really hard because
3 words. Oh,
I know.
yeah. Well, beautiful,
Definitely.
friendly, green. I don't know. Yeah. I could talk for days about the Faroe Islands, but you know, only 3 words. Yeah. And then when you guys leave, then why did I say that? Oh, that's fine. Yeah.
Last question for this interview. Let's imagine that in 100 or 200 years, people are going to write books about you or tell about you in Faroese schools. How would you want to be remembered by these people?
I just want to be remembered as a friendly person. Not, you know, I would, of course, at some point would love to be, you know, that people would respect my art, but, you know, who will know? Yeah. But I can't see they will write books about me in 100 years. Yeah, maybe they will.
Thank you for doing this interview.
No problem, no problem.
Thank you very much.